We have with us Mr. Ramchandra Rao Begur.
I really congratulate, Rotary for taking up this major and mammoth challenge of addressing illiteracy and taking that by 2017 that they will fight against this war. Just as a backdrop, I would like to give this. Today we are addressing or facing this issue of illiteracy is probably because one of the reasons for the last few decades, maybe the quality of elementary education was not looked at much more significantly, in the sense that if the earlier generations had the good quality elementary education, then probably today we would not have, really has this position or situation where we need to address the problem of illiteracy. So really for that, I really congratulate for taking this issue. While I would like to say my presentation, most of the points actually Ashish Dhawan has taken, but I would like to dwell into more practical part of it as to how, as we move forward, I think one of the ways of convergence or partnerships can be taken ahead. One of the important thing I would see that is that the focus should be every child in school and learning. If we are talking of elementary education for the classes grade 1 to 8 as of now, the issue is that are our children in school and are they learning? That is the question I think we have to ask, and we need to be asking about that. What's exactly happening about that? For that matter, if you look at that, the opportunity today in the sense of a legislation which by and large spoken by everybody, the right of children to free and compulsory education, I think it's a major opportunity. It's a very good favorable environment in which we are in. That's an act, that's a justifiable act, that children in the age group of 6 to 14 are entitled to have this, good quality elementary education. I think that itself is a huge opportunity, and I think we should not let it go. And from this, we need to think as to what are the programs or the schemes that are available. I think even if you look at that, from that perspective, it is very, very opportune time also that, as Honorable Minister spoke, that the alignment with all the states are also there, and also we have the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan program, the Education for All program, which is a major vehicle which is driving the force. And that program is there to help facilitate to reach this goal. Now, as part of that, we have seen that there is no problem largely with regard to enrollment. What does it mean? In the sense that children have been enrolled, but we also saw that there is a huge dropout that's happening. We need to question ourselves, why is the children are enrolled in school but are not able to complete the dropout, or for that matter, complete elementary cycle. Elementary cycle means a child who has enrolled in class 1, whether this child is able to complete the elementary cycle of 8th standard with good quality education. This is the question I think we are being addressed to. The dropout rates, when you say that for every 100 children, only 60 children complete elementary education. There is this 40 children, where are they going? What is the schools doing? Are the schools child-friendly? Probably. We need to question ourselves whether the schooling environment within which the schools are designed are pushing the children away, or for that matter, schools are able to accommodate and help to the quality education part. I think that is something which we need to look at in terms of why is this dropout happening? The first question. The second question is, we also are talking about the quality learning outcomes. Why is that a children who passes class 5, or for that matter completes grade 5, is still not able to read or write things related to curriculum competencies related to class 2? There is something issue with regard to the classroom transaction. When we talk of classroom transaction, we need to talk about teacher support system, the learning environment. So what is happening to that? I think that is something which we need to talk about it. The third point I would like to say is that whether this is happening in all areas, probably no. You might look at probably looking at the data from a very, very disaggregated lens, in the sense from the equity lens. One can look at across India, is this happening in a particular state? Is it happening in a particular geographical location? Or is it happening in areas where more from disadvantaged groups or marginalized groups? Because while you all plan to strategize the programs, the generic program strategies do not help sort out this. We need to address issues related to from the equity lens. Because the dropout rates also, if you see, it is not that 40 children are dropping out, it's an average. But when you look at it much more carefully, you can easily point out this is belonging to a particular district or particular blocks, or it's happening into a particular groups of children coming from the particular background, and there is something that is going to tell. The data which we have already is going to tell us exactly there is something else we need to do. One general single program, one size fits all, do not serve our purpose. Therefore, we need to have the differential programming strategies based on the context, based on the needs, based on the children's background with which we are coming. So that implies that we need to do something different. We have been addressing, there are a lot of programs, there are a lot of issues that are happening, but with all the efforts, why is this it's not happening or able to reach? Probably are we doing the same thing more and more again and again? We need to do something differently. And what is that differently? Probably we would be looking at probably flexible or pluralistic ways of addressing that. Because children come from different backgrounds. They are from the different strategies. Does the schooling environment, or for that matter, classroom environment, is flexible enough or is pluralistic enough to address the needs of these children? I think that is something which we need to look at it as conceptually, and then further we need to look at it. As we move forward, I think something I would like to say more in terms of at least 3 to 4 things which we need to look at really, and as we move forward. Because a lot of issues have been talked on. Now, one major thing is, I think we all need to come together to make schools RTE compliant. We know what right to education compliance means with regard to infrastructure, with regard to pupil-teacher ratios, with regard to quality education. Can we take an oath that we help, that wherever we are working, that we make all the schools or support the schools in having RTE compliant schools. Schools to be RTE compliant. I think that's one thing which we need to look at it, and what it means, what needs to be done is something we need to work out. The second thing which Ashish also raised, I think the power of community. As part of the school management committees, it's a mandatory. It is the parents of the children who are part of the school management committee. Now at the local level, there's a huge power and support systems. And they can really help design and make a difference to the class or the school that's making. They are expected to develop together the school development plan. Can you imagine a school at the, say for example in a rural area, the school management committee is developing the school management plan. This is the typical decentralized ways of addressing, which we talked about earlier in the differential programming. So I think if we can work around communities, and especially with the school management committees, can we help support them to develop the school design development plans? I think this can make a huge difference. Let's look at that. Who are these right now, wherever we are working, SMCs who are called, what's their capacities? How can you help them to support? Can these in turn help becomes RTE compliant? Whether they can help in making the schools the right to educate compliance. So that is something, again, I would like to reiterate. The third point is about teachers. Friends, let me tell you, teachers are the real backbone of the classroom transactions. You want it or you don't want it, they are going to make a huge difference. Now look at the way we are addressing teacher support systems. About teacher training, their capacity development, and the structures that are available as of now. If you look at in a normal state, you would have a district institute of education training. Subsequently, there is a block resource of training and the cluster. These are supposed to be helps the teachers. Now, the training programs for teachers have to be much more different, based on their needs, based on their capacities, based on their gaps, which they are going to address. I think teacher education needs to be gearing up. One is about teachers, help structures, and the teacher education support. How are we preparing teachers? I think that is something which has not been spoken earlier also. Where are we preparing these teachers? Whom they are the big ones? What is about the teacher education institutions? Are they functioning in the needs of the pluralistic society and the paces that's going to be there? I think that's another thing which we need to look at that. The last but not the least is, let's take a oath in the sense that let's make all schools child-friendly. A child should be willing to come there, be there, and he should enjoy there. And can our design methodologies, the teaching strategies, are in such a way that children learn with understanding? The national curriculum frameworks explicitly mentions about rote learning. Children's learning, not able to relate with the immediate environment. Always there is a said about learning alphabet, A, B, C, D, or thing. Are children learning by rote, or children learning with understanding? I think relation with the immediate environment helps you learning much better with understanding. And therefore, one is about the classroom environment, the second is about the school environment. Let's look at the two major things as a specific thing. If we are talking of classroom environment, about the teacher training, the learning materials that are required, the child-centered approaches which the teachers are using, whether we have been talking of activity-based learning, the child-centered approaches, are the teachers are able to do or help support those things. Say, for example, if we have to do, can we think of having libraries in the classrooms? Can we think of, providing some sort of learning resource materials? I would leave to you all. Just keep thinking, how does a children or groups of children gets a habit of learning? You all would see just availability and then making a habit of reading books itself, address this, what we call, as today you are fighting about the literacy. Reading books, telling stories, coming back and explaining the expression part of it, what it means. It relates to many things. I think something of that kind has to be thought of in terms of libraries or anything related to classroom learning resource materials which we can provide. Third, let the school environment be much more friendly, more safer for children, for girls. Whether we all talked about the toilets, facilities, and if you look at the dropout rate, there is dropout rate more, especially between the age group of 11 to 14. Why is it happening? The moment you look at specifically with the data, there is something else which will come up as a knowledge, and I think we need to address that. And as part of the initiatives which in elementary education UNICEF has been supporting to help accelerate these things, I think we'll be always open to help support anything which you are taking this in this major mammoth issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable thoughts. I can assure you they will go a long way in the minds of all those who are in presence, and it will help us in achieving our goal. Thank you once again.